Welcome back to a new video. In this video, we're going to convert one of the section of our application to a client component. And we're going to do a little bit of styling, allow the user to get a little bit more feedback when we're generating the blog post. And we're going to clean up a little bit of the code and just a little bit more styling on the blog component or blog post component that we're going to create in this section. So let's start by running the application. I emptied out my MongoDB database. I have 0 blogs in here. And I noticed that if we run the application in here, so when we run the application, if there's no blogs at all, we're going to, let's visit localhost 3000. And I just want to show you this error that we get. Let's just give it a second here. All right, so localhost 3000 is loaded up to the application here. Right now we'll have to normally go to /blogs to navigate there. But let's just have the button here that says sign up. Let's just have the href that will take us to /blogs. And also let's go to, that's fine, we can just keep it on this. So now we hit sign up in here. Compiling, we get this error. We said there's on handle a runtime error, props that dangerously set inner HTML must be a form, and it's going to give you this error message here. So basically saying that whatever we pass into this prop is not the correct form. So we're going to go to page.tsx inside of the blogs, and that's coming from right over here. And this is going to be either a string or undefined, but in here right now we're not handling that. We're just trying to pass the content in here. I think we even had a exclamation here too, which was not helping, but we can do a or operator here and just pass an empty string. And if we don't have a blog content, just render an empty string, which is nothing, which is fine. Pass that error check and we're good. So let's begin with a little bit of the styling so we can get rid of some of the styling first. So I want to go back to my globals.css, and we have a little bit of styling for the scroll bar in here. Right now we don't see it. So in here, scroll bar width is too thin. Scroll bar color is black and blue. Let's store these two colors in a variable here, in a CSS variable. So let's do a primary, and let's do black, and let's do, what did I put here? Let's do secondary, and let's do royal blue for this one. We're gonna set this two to, because we're gonna reuse these values in another location. So secondary here, and then we're gonna pass in the primary color here. So scroll bar is gonna get the royal blue, and then the background will be black. Let's also add a little bit of styling here that we're gonna see right away on the button class that we have. Let me delete everything that's here, and let's do rounded MD P-2 text white BG-blue 700. And if you want to keep your own styling that you have, you can skip this part. But I want to show you how it's gonna look with the new styles and the new base layer rules that we're gonna put in here too, because that will help when to style the content when it gets loaded or injected in the HTML, in the set inner HTML. So here, shadow blue. Let's do 700/50. And let's also, let's see, on hover, shadow dash blue dash 700. And what else? So let's do hover. We want shadow to be large. On hover, the background dash blue we set to 600, and just one text be center. Here we got the little 9 background hover color change and the black and the shadow. So for the layer here, we're gonna say add a layer, and these styles are going to mostly just affect the HTML that we're injecting into the content section. So in here you can do more styling later on if you notice that you want to style things differently. But I did notice last time we had a UL. So in the ULs, I'm just gonna add a little bit of padding so it can look a little better. If it's a order list, I want to do the same. So I just want to copy this down, make it into an OL. And then for the allies, let's do allies that are inside of the UL. So I want the list style to be inside. And then for the order list, I want the style to be number. Oh, so if you notice any more styling that you need to do in order to display your content better, just do it in here. Right now, this is the things that actually was really bad when I saw some of the content being rendered here. We can always come back here. Any more custom classes you want to create, do it inside of the component sections. And this is going to affect globally for the scroll bars that we have that we're going to load up in a bit when we fill this with content. So for the styling, let me see if we're going to do anything else. So we're going to, let's go into, now that we have all the styling in here, let's close this up, go back to the main page, and on the button that says sign up. So let's see, we have a href here, and we also have the class btn. That's for the sign up. This one is fine. And let's just do, so this is good, this is good. Let's close this one. Let's go to our blogs page, and here's where we fix the error I was getting. Let's scroll up to the first section here to this button here on section 1, and in here the one that says sign out, which is this one, let's just add a little bit of margin X to 5, And let's just do a margin bottom of 5, because this button is going to get pushed down with the content that the different blocks are going to be generated here. It's going to be pushed down all the way to the bottom, just so we can have some margin if it gets pushed down all the way down. Let me see if I have any other styles. For now, I think this is everything we need. The next step that we want to do, that I want to work on, is creating the section 2 mostly. And this whole section 2 is going to become a client component, so we can add the loading state of the application, and we're going to clear the form when the user clicks on create. So we're gonna need to make that into a client component so we can handle that in the front end, but in the client side. So let's start working with that. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to create a new, we don't have a components folder yet. Let me close it up. And let's create inside of SRC, right click, new folder, components. Inside of components, let's just create a new file. Let's call it blog-post.tsx. And in here, let's just declare the boilerplate. So function blog post. Let's just export it here. Export default blog post. And here, let's just render, let's say return div h1 blog post. And at the top, let's say that this is going to be a client component by writing the use client directive here. And let's load this up. Let's see what else we can do. So first, let's just make this into a fragment, because we're going to load this up back here inside of the section. We're going to keep the section here. We're just going to copy all of this in there. So before we do that, let's see. We're going to have a loading state. So now that we have a client component, we're going to be able to import. So that needs to stay all the way at the top. Let's just import here. We're going to use the use state hook. We're going to need the use effect. And let's import the form event that we also going to need from what else do we need? We are going to need to, we're going to copy some of the stuff. So I'm going to keep it here. We're going to copy what we need from here too. So in here, let's create a quick variable for the loading state. So let's just going to say const square brackets loading and set a loading equals to use state, and initial is going to say false is the initial value. So in here, we're going to do a little bit of conditional rendering here. Let's get rid of this blog post, and we're going to put curly brackets. We're going to check if it's loading. We want to let's just say h3 loading. All right, we're going to show a loading state here. Else, we're going to check if let's just, for now, let's just have parentheses. And here's what we're going to have. Another fragment. And we're going to copy the stuff from this page. So we're going to grab from this component here. This tag here, this div. Let's just grab this one. Let's make sure. Let's see where this is going to. This one is all the way to keywords. And then this is the. Yeah, let's grab this section. Put that. Bring it in here. Right now, it doesn't know what blogs is, so we're going to copy that too. And let's see. Let's keep it here. Now, we can add space here at the bottom. And we can also, let's bring in, we have our blogs here. So let's bring in, let's import this stuff here too. So we're gonna take this, let's copy this, let's bring it in here. Get blogs. So with get blogs, we're going to create a new piece of state 2. So what we're gonna do in here, we're gonna say const for brackets blogs comma set blogs, and the initial value for the use state is going to be null, and then we need to tell the use state what kind of data this is supposed to be. So we're gonna do less than sign, greater than sign. Then we need to import the blog type, custom type that we define. So let's just type blog. Let's see if it's gonna auto import. Blog post type. Blog post, is that what we call it? Blog post, yeah. Blog post is imported here. And this is gonna be an array of blog posts. And it can also be null. So it's gonna be an array of blog posts or null. TypeScript can be happy. So here, blog post conflict with local variable. Okay, so let's rename. Okay, because now we have this and this. So let's see if we can just rename it as blog here and just say blog. We'll rename it inside of the definition in here, and then find the locations where we did that, but where we imported it. I think that's a better approach, just because it can be confusing to know that this is what we call it in the definition, and here we're calling it something else because it's conflicting with this name. So we could do that real quick. We can go in here, let's call it blog. And then here we just call it blog. That's fine. Why this is still red? So blogs is possibly no. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna check that in here. Let's create a quick function here for fetching our blogs. And we're going to do, actually we can just put that inside of the use effect. Let's say use effect. We're going to pass a arrow function here. Let's do the function definition here. Fetch blogs, because I don't think we needed this in anywhere else. So fetch blogs is going to be equals to an async function. And we're gonna say let our const data equals, and we're gonna get the get blogs function call here. We're gonna say wait in here, and then we need to call set blogs to put the data in there into our state. And then here we're just gonna call the fetch blogs. What's not coming? Cool. And then this is only gonna be called when the component first renders. Now, and this is cool. So we have our use effect ready to go. We have our blog state, and we have a loading state in here. We're gonna check if it's loading. We're just gonna show the user a loading message. Else, if it's not loading, we're going to render we're gonna loop over. We're gonna show them the blogs at last blog. We're gonna start showing them the different values. That's good. Let me refactor this a little bit and see what we're gonna do next. So I think we should just clean up in here and back into the blogs page. We have our handle completion, and here we're not gonna need that anymore. I can keep it there for now. Let's go and see what else we got here. Section 2, we still got the form. So the form is this. So let's cut this and bring it over to the blog post component. Scroll the way down. We still got this red squiggly line. So let's get rid of that too. So in here, after the conditional render, we're going to put it after the conditional rendering because this is always going to render at the bottom. And to get rid of the squiggly lines, right now it says that blogs is possibly null because we said it could be null at the beginning, and then it's going to be an array of blogs. So let's just do in here. If it's loading, we're going to show loading. Else, we're going to render that, but we're going to check if blogs is true, and then render that. Just to make sure this is true, then we can go ahead and render everything there. Okay, so we got the form, we got everything there. We haven't saved this file yet, but now let's see what else. Handle completion is not being done here because we're not using it here. We can get rid of that. We'll still need the get blogs here. This is being called in the backend, so server side. This is gonna be called and display here. The other section is the only one that is going to be rendered in the client because it's just this whole entire blog post component. Now let's import this blog post component and render that in here. Let's do blog post. Help me with the import or not. Blog post. Right here. That's the import. Make sure you got the import here and the page is saved. Everything looks the same. Let's format this a bit. Everything looks the same, but now this section here, we are rendering a blog post. So this is going to be a client component. So this whole entire component here that we can use our hooks, and we can do a little bit more of our regular client side rendering here. Now let's close this up and then let's review what we did. We got the use effect already in here. Now we have this loading here. So let's see, when the user types in here, we gotta create a new function for this, because here we're gonna say, we're gonna create a new handle submit function. That is what we're gonna be calling in here. And instead of an action, we're going to call it in a onSubmit. Let's change that up in here. And let's say const handle submit equals a function here. Then this function, we're just gonna change it in here. So we're gonna delete action equals handle completion. We're gonna delete that from there. We're gonna listen for onSubmit event. We're gonna call handle submit. And we're gonna work on the function here. So handle submit needs to be an async function, because we're going to be calling our handle completion from here. So we're going to take in the event. Event is going to be your type form event, and it's going to be a type of HTML form element. TypeScript of exactly what type of HTML element we're working with. So in here, we're gonna do a try catch block here, console log the error, and we're gonna work inside of here with the handle submit. First thing we need to do, of course, we're going to, let's just have the prevent default, and then here we're gonna do the loading state and the code to the handle completion. So let's see, first, when we call the function, we want to turn our loading state. So we're going to cut set loading to true. So that way we can change loading to true. So when it's loading, we're going to show the H3 that's going to say loading. And then after calling loading, we're going to say await handle completion, and we need to get past the user text. So we need to create a state for that. So at the top here, let's create a new piece of state. So we're going to say const, let's call it user prompt, comma, set user prompt equals use state, and that's going to be empty strings, empty quotes. And then we are going to go down to the form, and in here we need to listen for a on change on the text area. User prompt ID class, that's fine. We got this here. We don't have a require here. Make that require, and let's do a, let's connect this to our state. So we're going to say that the value of this text area is going to be our user prompt state, and on change we want to call e for the event. So just an anonymous error function here. We're going to take in the event, we're going to call the set user prompt, and we're going to pass in e.target.value. So now we got the state variable for the user prompt, and we're going to bound it. We're going to bind it to the text area, And on change, we're going to update that with the setter function from the state. So that should allow us to type in here. And in our state, if we go to our expect components, we can check our component here. We go and blog post all the way at the bottom. We see that the state has the text here that I'm typing. Cool. So what else we got to do? So now that we have this in here, when we submit the form, we're just going to pass the user prompt to handle completion. And what is this in here? String is not assignable to parameter of type foreign data. And that is because, what do we got here? We handle completion. Oh, that's because of the definition of the handle completion function. So we're gonna need to change that inside of the handle completion because we have a type set to what's supposed to be going in here. So we're supposed to be sending a foreign data type, and we're sending a string now. So we gotta go inside of our, where is this again? Actions, index, and in here we are saying that is in here handle completion is gonna be of type foreign data. So it's not gonna be a foreign data anymore because this is a client. We're gonna call this from the client. This is when we're calling it from our backend or server side. So here we're gonna delete this in here, foreign data. Okay, so it's no longer foreign data. So we're gonna double click on this, hold Control D, and click Control D 3 times so we can highlight all of them. But not really. Let's just do this one. Let's call it user prompt. This is gonna be a type string. Then this foreign data is not gonna be foreign data.get. Instead of this that we're making a string, we're just gonna simplify this to blog topic equals user prompt, which is already a string, and that's what we gotta do. We're gonna do user prompt here, which is just a string. We're gonna pass it here. We're just gonna pass it there so we don't have to change too many things in here. Blog topic, console of blog topic, that's fine. Then that should do the job. So now here, if we look, we don't have the error here anymore. It's happy. And we can go back and keep working on the function here. So now we have our code to handle completion. So handle completion is going to get called. And do we have anything red here? Blog post has no member blog post. Okay, so here the type, we are renaming this. Are we using this? We're still using it at the bottom here with the get blogs function. So we're going to Control D to select these two and just call it blog. On line 78 here, the type now is blog because we rename it because it was conflicting with the client-side component name is blog as well. So in here, back into the blog post, now we could go and say, so handle completion is going to be called, which is this one here. And the completion is going to take in the user prompt, is going to build the prompt for OpenAI, is going to send it, and is going to store the blog into our MongoDB database. So here we should call our, let's say, await fetch blogs function so we can fetch blogs. What do we call it? We're gonna call it here. So yeah, we do need this outside then. So this fetch blogs function, let's just put it outside of the use effect. We can use it in here. So we need to call it here after we get the completion from OpenAI, and that's gonna store the blog into the database. So we need to query a database again. And then that's everything we gotta do. We can set the loading to false again. So when we update the state, this component is gonna be re-render and it's gonna show the new data. And we can now set the user prompt, back to an empty quote, which is going to just clear what we type inside of the text area here. So we could do a little bit more validation, making sure we have the user prompt that is not empty. We do have a require here now for the text area, but we could do a little more there if we like. I'm gonna keep it just like this. Now let's do a little bit of testing here. So let's say create a blog about getting started with AI and create. Right now we got the loading message here, and then that's gonna take a little bit. It shows that it's loading, and now we get the data back. The completion was done. The data was stored in the database. We fetch the blocks again, and we set the loading back to false. So updating the state is going to evaluate this here again. And now that we have some data, we're going to render the data. So we have our text here. It looks like the scroll bar is not getting the CSS. I'll double check on that in a second, but right now this is fine. What I'd like to do to end the video is that I don't want to keep just an H3. Let's create a small component that is going to look a lot better. You notice how this got all the way up here because it was just an H3 and it looked terrible. So let's work on that just to finish up the video. Let's make sure we got the scroll bars style. So let's see in here. We have this div is holding all the content here. So flex1 p5 overflow auto to show this if we need to, if we have a lot of content. Notice a little bit of space in here, but this could. Okay, so here, let's do, you can play around with the padding if you like, but more or less. Here, let me see if we find overflow y hidden. Let's test this out. Okay, that's hidden. We cannot move it there. So yeah, this is fine. But we're going to need to, oops, draw. Okay. Keep it there. Okay. All right. So let's see in here. So yeah, let's just keep it Y hidden. So we're going to hide it first. If you like, this is up to you, but I'm going to do hover. We're going to change the overflow Y to auto. So only when we hover this. Let's see, overflow Y is hidden on hover. That space there was messing things up. So now it's hidden, but when you hover over that, we can see the scroll bar. Right, this is just a different touch, but you can do it how you like it. Okay, so let's look at the globals really quick, just in case I mess something up in there. So globals, where are you? Right here. Let's see. Primary is black, secondary royal blue, row width, row color, and then bar secondary, bar primary. Okay, that looks fine. Let me see where this is going. We don't see the colors apply. And is that I put too many dashes here. You probably maybe notice that. There we go. Put one extra dash here. That's why it wasn't applying. So now you can see that the background is black and the scroll bar is blue. And again, that is up to you. You style your application how you like. Cool. Let's close that up. We don't need that anymore. And finally, let's just work on getting the new component that is going to generate, is going to show instead of the h3 here. That's the last thing we're going to do. You can see how the input was clear. And everything else is working. So let's just create a new component here. Right click on components, new file. Call it generating.tsx. In here, let's go and export default function generating. And here, this is, we don't need state, we don't need anything. This is just a UI piece of UI component. We're gonna return a div, and in here we need to install React icons so we can add an icon to the component. Yeah, let's do that. So let's just tap the terminal and we're gonna do npm i react -icons so we can get some icons in this application. After running npm i react icons, we're gonna run the application again and compile. And then what else? We need to, in here in the div, let's add some class names in the meantime when this compiles. Let's do flex. Let's do flex -1. So we can take the whole entire space and justify center items center. And what is going on here? Hashing fail, blah blah. Okay, that's fine. Let's import we need to import a icon from React icons, and the icon we want, let me forget the name. We can do, you can do any icons you want. We can just bring in like a little robot from FA on us on library here, and we can just call the FA robot, that one, and we can just render that in here. And if you want, you can look for React icons In here, you can look for the different libraries they have. So for now, I think is this one. You can find more. This is how you do the import. But if you do robot here, you're gonna get this icon here. So FA robot, this is the one I'm bringing in. We can also change the size. Let's make this size like a good 42 pixels robot. Format it, save it, and let's render this component or generating component back into here. Instead of the h3 that we have, we're going to just say generating, get the import, render that instead. Format it, done, make sure the import is there, and we're good to go. So let's create a blog post about making fancy cat chocolate, and hit create. When we hit create, we're gonna see, oh, we can see the loading. Why is this loading still? Compiling. It looks like it's still looking at the old cache. So we're gonna try that again. Making fancy hot chocolate. You might be seeing the generating mine because it failed to load it. It was loaded looking at the old content. That's fine. We can try that again. Create a blog post about making espresso coffee at home. Hit create again. Still see the loading here. So we don't see the generating. Isn't that what we want? So let me stop the server. Also close the tab for the application. And I'm even going to delete this folder here. Then I'm gonna run again, npm run def. We can compile everything again. This might take a little bit longer, but do it if you have to. Visit localhost 3000. Sign up. Now we can click here. Go to blogs, and we gotta test again. So let's just do the same thing again. Getting started with programming this time, or computer programming. Hit create. There we go. We see the icon. That's good. Making progress. But let's go back to that generating. And we also want to, right next to the robot, we're going to have a div. Let's just say generating or creating, anything you want. Let's add a class name. Let's add a text of 3XL ml margin left of the robot. Let's do -2, and got this ready to go. Now let's just make sure it's displaying. So getting started with front end development, and hit create. Generating, did a little typo there. This is generating. Also, we can add a quick, and we can add a color with this. Like we can just add some text dash blue or like a light 300 shade, and maybe we can add an animate pulse or jumping, like spin, ping, pulse, anything that you want. I'm gonna do pulse, save it, and I'm gonna do one last one, getting started with back end development, and hit create. Generating. Yeah, okay, that looks way better. And there we go. Cool. Perfect. Here we need more. This will look better like this. Better. There's still some CSS touches that we need to find them and just fix this up. But you will. Oh, this is confusing for me. Grab this here. Oh, well, looks good. Let's just finish up. This is everything we're gonna do in here. You can also style the front page, the main page, a little bit better, because right now on the main page there is not a lot. I do have a couple of styling here for this if you want to follow along with the styling. If not, this is just a couple of more styling that I'm going to add to the home page, to this page here, but I'm not going to do anything else after this video. But if you want to stick around for the styling, let's just do that really quick. And in here we got min height screen. We're going to do a BG gradient of to right. So to the right, we want to start from a cyan color of 500. And you can play around with the gradients colors that you want to build. And then to the blue color 500 will give us this. And then we're gonna do, in here we got flex and justify between adding 5 slate 800 slate 600. This is for the block genie navbar. Let's do a little bit of 800, a little bit darker, looks way better. Text wide, that could stay like that. And then in the section here, we could go to class name for the section. We can do flex, justify center, margin, tab 800. This is just adding this so it can go down a little bit. It would definitely add more content to the page if we want to make it into a nice landing page, your hero component, all of that. Then you can do in here, instead of this indigo color, we could do we can match our slate of maybe 800. Padding 10, text wide, font bold, rounded, text center, that's fine. We can do a height of 72. We can do a flex dash call. And we can do justify center. And this is justify center. This is justify center. What else? What else? What else am I missing? Flex and justify center is here. This is a flex container. This here. Also, did I make this a flex container too or not? Flex. There we go. Cool. All right. So I think the colors are matching a little bit better. Now you can work on this page. Go over to this here. Colors are matching a little bit. You can have your own color palettes that you like. And that's it. We can close this up. We got the generating done. all of that is completed. We got our client component created, and that's about it. That's everything I wanted to show you in here. If I get any more requests of any other features, I'll probably try to add it to the page here. But for now, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.